on the Texas A&M Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy, Ags. After a 31-9 win over Mississippi State in a blacked-out Kyle Field and the fifth largest crowd in Kyle Field history, the Fighting Texas Aggies move up to number 5 in the poll. They are 5-0, 2-0 in SEC play. And this is the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. And with the Yankees on one monitor and volleyball in front of us, I just want Coach to say something so we know that he's here.
Yeah, so what I was thinking is as this gets exciting down the stretch here in the fourth set of the Aggie volleyball game, I'll start doing some play-by-play commentary.
You got it.
For the fans.
And this is what I will do for you. I will teach you how to invoice and where to send it so you can get paid.
There you go. Okay, yeah, we'll send that to what would be Learfield Sports Properties.
Yeah.
We'll send that to Learfield and
Mike
get
Elko,
a little supplementary check for the month.
Mike Elko, play-by-play.
Yeah.
Look, I always say this about broadcasting. Coaching can be fickle, too, so you have to have a fallback.
Got to have a fallback plan. Got to have a fallback plan.
And, I mean, the degree from Penn also helps you mightily.
I think at this point, though, it's expired. I think after 26 years of coaching in football, all I have now is a plaque on the wall.
But that is a very prestigious diploma.
It is. I worked hard. I worked hard for that diploma. That was not an easy diploma to get, for sure.
Let's talk about working hard, Mike. This football team worked hard for 60 minutes, and I loved your message to the team that if you're going to play in the SEC, you have to you sign up for 4 quarters and 60 minutes. And by time the 60th minute ran out, Texas A&M wore down Mississippi State, did it not?
Yeah, it was funny. And we kind of experienced this a little bit last year in a couple games where it's like they just walk into the game and maybe because there's a perception that they're a middle team or they're not, the top brand in the league, that, the game is just going to go a certain way. And I just try to remind them every time we get into these games, like, when you sign up to play in the SEC, like, you're going to play. Like, these are going to be games. Anybody can beat anybody. This is like NFL football. Everyone's talented. Everyone's got players. And so, like, let's not look around, disheveled that we're not scoring every time or they're moving the ball. Like, let's just compete. Every single snap, compete. And that was kind of the message at halftime. And I think they responded well to it, and we went out and had a much better second half.
If I'm not mistaken, did you say post-game 275 of the 299 yards were rushing in that second half?
No, that's not right.
Is that too high?
It was it was too high. I think we had 143 of our rushing yards in the fourth quarter. I know that for sure, and I know we ran for 300 yards before we started taking a knee at the end of the game, and I think that's back-to-back weeks now where we're up over 270 yards rushing per game, and I don't know, you can look through the history, you do that better than I do, but I can't imagine that happens a ton in this conference when you're playing against conference opponents, and so that's a good starting spot.
Not with those two defenses, Mike, to be honest.
No, and it's yeah, and again, like, we've talked about this on numerous occasions. I think we are really, really close to unlocking this thing, and the kids are working hard, and we're trying to continue to deliver the messages the right way to truly get it where it's capable of being, but I think we're really close.
We talked about Mississippi State and the season that Jeff Lebby in his second year and the confidence they come in. Are you seeing that confidence from your team now after 5 weeks?
Yeah, for sure, and I think it was a little bit maybe again, is my Twitter crew here? Can we be a little careful with what we put out there for everybody? Can we have some fun on the radio show just internally a little bit? But maybe a little bit of a chip on our shoulder last week to hear so much of the conversation about the mass improvement and year 2 for Mississippi. I think we feel like we've done that. We feel like we've taken some big strides. We feel like our program has taken some big jumps. We feel like the arrow in our program is pointed way up. And that's no disrespect to Mississippi State. They do a phenomenal job, and they're absolutely right when they say that about them. But kind of maybe thought our media should have said a little bit more about us the same way. So,
do you sometimes feel like after you're done with a certain team, do you say, I'm glad the rest of the SEC has to deal with them through October and November? Like, you're glad they're in the rearview mirror?
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny, the one that has played out that way, like, for sure, that I don't think we got a ton of credit for was this team last year.
Agreed.
When we went down to the Swamp last year and won that game, like, in my eyes, that was like a major victory. Like, to go down to Florida, win at the Swamp on the road. It had been 2.5 years since we won, and it was kind of like, oh, well, they're not that good. And I was like, well, yeah, I don't know that that's going to hold out to be accurate over the course of the year. And it certainly didn't. And you saw what they did towards the back half of last year. And, and now you look at some of the teams that they've beaten in the Swamp since that game we won. I think they now have 3 top 10 victories in the Swamp since we beat them down there last year. And so I think that happens a lot in this league where, because it's so competitive, because it's so challenging every week, there are certain teams whose records maybe aren't exactly what, they're not 5-0, they're not 4-1, and so they must not be that good. Mm-hmm. When the reality of it is you can take a lot of teams in a lot of different conferences and give them Florida's schedule, and they're not going to have the same record that Florida has, and I just think that's what this league is. That's what makes this league different.
They've already gone on the road and played a top 5 team. This isn't new for them on Saturday.
No, not at all. And that's what we told the guys, and I'm not sure there's going to be any part of that. I think they've done it twice. I think they went down to Miami and they went to LSU, and that was a top 10 team. And so there's not going to be any part of this Florida team that'll be intimidated in any way, shape, or form coming in here. We're going to have to beat them, and that's what's going to have to happen. And they're going to come in playing their best. We're going to have to play our best, and it'll be a great SEC football game.
We're just getting started. When we come back, some of the award winners and the performances from the 31-9 win over Mississippi State. That's when we return. But we want to tell you that Aggs play the Texas Lottery today for your chance to win exciting prizes. And remember, luck happens to people like Tatiana Hollingberg. And remember, I just said that, who keep a lookout for chances to win from the Texas Lottery. Tatiana won Texas A&M prizes, and you could too. Texas Lottery supports Texas education and veterans. Scratch 'em tickets and gig 'em. We'll come back to Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station for more of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena, and you'll be recognized on the video board during the game. Register today, 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. They are checking in, and Carol says keep digging.
Okay.
First and foremost. Yeah.
Okay.
She said keep digging.
Not sure what that means, but okay.
All I know is it says Carol to you.
Yep.
Mom says keep digging.
Okay.
How about this? Singapore has checked in New South Wales, and then, of course, our friends
in
with
Italy.
the Italy A&M club.
Yep. Always great to hear from our
say that I just
club.
returned from Sydney last Friday. Like, it just being in Italy's not enough.
Then you got to go to Australia, too?
Yeah. We got in the wrong business, Coach.
We did for sure. We did for sure.
I want to work for them.
It sounds like a fun job.
It does.
They're here for Aggie games.
Absolutely.
Spend a little bit of time in Australia. Spend a little So they're living the life.
Yeah, Mason, thank you for this comment. He's in San Angelo. Mason Brooks, you guys are two of the best at what you do. As long as I'm doing this, and you're doing that.
Are you talking about you and Kevin? Is that who they're referencing?
No. As long as I'm not coaching, you could probably do my job way easier than I could do yours.
I don't think so. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit.
Can I have your coaching staff? That would help me immensely.
I was going the other way. I was thinking, I don't know that I could do your job as easily as you think I can. I'm not sure that you would want to do mine.
That's a good point. That's a real good point. I'm undefeated on radio.
You can't lose.
Right.
You've made every call correctly.
If not, I can go change it in post. That's what they always say about coaches, right? When they get into the TV business, they go undefeated.
Undefeated
on TV.
Right? I tell people every time we have a bye week, I just sit around thinking to myself, man, this life would be a lot more fun. I made every call the right way today. I can't believe what anybody else did. I don't know why that coach called that play. I don't know why he called that one. It's a much funner way to live, for sure.
Much more fun. Hey, you've had some award winners in the Southeastern Conference. On the D-line, it was Cassius Howe, and the Defensive Player of the Week, Damian Sanford. I mean, that defense, again, lights out for the second consecutive week. Third down, that money down for you. But with those two, just that impact and that what they do for that entire defense.
Yeah, it's been, obviously, those two have been tremendous assets the last 2 weeks. And, Cassius Howe really getting going and creating the pass rush. And, was obviously able to take advantage of some things last week with the offensive tackle situation over there and come down with another 3 sacks. And so I think I read somewhere he's leading the SEC and maybe second in the country or third in the country in sacks right now. And so obviously that's got to continue in order for us to continue to be successful. And, Damian Sanford's it's been really cool to see his development over the last 2.5 games and he's playing at a really high level, and I think it's really shown up in his practice habits too, and he's now practicing at a really high level, and it's been good. He's gotten a taste of it and a taste of success, and he's doing everything he can to not give it back.
You say your offensive MVP was Ruben Owens, and as you watch Ruben run, man, I missed watching him all last year. It's so good to see a healthy Ruben Owens.
Yeah.
Just what he can do.
No, for sure. He's such a talented back, and he's got a different gear and a different twitch when he gets out open space. And I think people don't really understand the kind of back Ruben is because he's a bigger athletic kid. And so a lot of times when kids run like Ruben, they're smaller. They're 195 pounds. Ruben runs the way he runs at 210, but has such elusiveness in open space. And so he's really like a tremendous open field runner, has an ability to really make people miss in space, can do a lot catching the ball out of the backfield. And so, he's a tremendous complement in our backfield and easily could be a number one in a lot of different places. Huge point right there for the Aggies as we take a 26-25 lead in the fourth set.
Yep. Ooh. And serving.
Yeah.
For
the
set
match.
number 4.
Yeah, for set number 4 to send it to 5.
Also, this did not get lost, is that young man, Jamarian Morrow, busted one. And you have been saying this young man can be special.
Yeah, it's crazy because we have so many talented backs fighting for carries. And here comes this freshman and who's a little bit smaller in stature, but certainly not in the way he plays the game. And he just keeps pushing, and it's like literally we look at ourselves all the time in practice like, man, we got to give this kid a chance, and we got to find ways to get him going and get him involved. And the situation just presented itself the way it did, and we got him a couple carries, and sure enough, he slipped out the back door on one and took it down the sideline for quite a bit. And so fans are going to get used to hearing that name for a few years here.
And all of those backs can run between the tackles because you have to be able to run between the tackles in the SEC, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a testimony to kind of why we have the success we do running the ball. We put a lot of emphasis on run tracks, angles of entry, how to hit holes, how to find holes. And I think each game we're getting a little bit closer to doing that the way we want to.
Because of Ruben Owens, 21 carries, the career best 142 yards, Earl Campbell, Tyler Rose Award, Player of the Week, honorable mention. You have Casey Concepcion as your special teamer and the Paul Horning Award weekly honor roll. That's to the most versatile player in college football goes to Casey Concepcion. Guys like him, you can't get the ball in his hands enough, so you try to get it there as often as possible, can't you?
Yeah, it is, and he's so thick and strong that he does a really nice job. Oh, we got a bad overturn there, so now we're down one. They're so strong, and the way he breaks tackles, and so when we can get him the ball in open space, it's really good for the Aggies. And so, when you go out there on punt return, obviously that puts you in a lot of open space. I think kids are really buying into working hard to block for him. I think what we've got to get kids to do is maybe not be so aggressive in how they block for him. Mm-hmm. I think that's causing some of the problems. I think kids want so badly to make their block that they're kind of making it at all cost right now, and we've got to get that out of their system a little bit. But I think he's a really talented player.
He's a young man at NC State. He was at the top of the scouting report, right? So he's been used to having to be good. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit new for Cassius, is it not? And you learn, you adjust, because there's going to be more emphasis going into this week, Florida, hey, we have to know where number 9 is. But when you go to the top of that scouting report, you've got to change your game as well.
Yeah, a little bit. And don't forget about Cassius, because he was at the top of the scouting report at Bowling Green, too.
Right.
I think what we lost with Cassius, and this is what I was trying to tell everybody this offseason, is last year we had 3 NFL defensive ends, and Cassius just happened to be the third one. and so we knew that. We lose the other 2. And everyone's like, oh, but we knew we had. Cassius took reps away from a second, 2 second-round draft picks at first round and a second-round draft pick at the defensive end.
Yeah.
Cassius was taking reps from them because of how talented he was. And so, I think it's a challenge when you go to the top of the depth chart in this conference, because the matchup, when he was at Bowling Green, I don't know that the talent level was to the same level that this is.
Not the same, but the MAC was saying we've got to can't let Cassius Howe beat us.
Yeah, but now you're going to see an NFL tight end and an NFL tackle and an NFL running back all working to kind of make sure that makes it a much more challenging situation. And so, but I know he'll rise to it. I know that's the kind of kid he is.
But he's going up against the Trey Zunes and the Demetrius Crownovers and the Deuce Fotheries every single day, right? NFL talent on those tackles. That's what's also making him better. Correct?
For sure. I think that's the elevation and that's the competition you want inside your program. And you could say the same thing for Casey Concepcion and how him going against Will Lee and Des Ricks every day helps. And then you could say the flip side, which is Des Ricks and Will Lee are playing better in part because they're going against Ashton Bethel-Roman and Terry Bussey and Casey Concepcion every day, right? And that's what you want. Like, that's what the championship teams in this conference have always been about. That's what you need. That's where it's got to all start. Now, again, we've got a lot to work on and a lot to continue to do, but that's where the starting point is.
We'll talk a little bit more when we return to the Aggie Football Hour. It's presented by It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're with Mike Elko, head coach, Texas A&M. Unfortunately, Kentucky defeats Texas A&M in 4 sets, 27-25 in that 4th set. I haven't even looked up there.
It's a rough TV night right now, but that's okay.
Yeah, we got to change the vibes in here. When we come back, we step aside. We'll be back. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Thanks to the generosity of 12th Man Foundation donors, Aggie student-athletes have the resources to succeed at Texas A&M and beyond. Start your tradition of support today at 12thmanfoundation.com. We continue with the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. And the questions have just poured in. One of the all-time great offensive football minds was Mr. Coach Klein of the South Central Louisiana State Mud Dogs. Does Mr. Coach Colin Klein have any relation to him?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know the reference, that is referencing the Water Boy, and that is the coach from the Water Boy. I don't believe so, and I think from Coach Klein's playing days, I think he was far above the actual Water Boy. Yeah. And so I don't think there's any relation, but it's a good question to bring into the office tomorrow and find out for sure.
Gotcha. So you're going to find out if they're from the same coaching tree.
We'll find out if there's any relation, if they're from the same coaching tree, if they ever cross paths at any point.
And does Colin have a Roy Orbison tattoo?
I don't believe he does. I don't believe he does. But I do believe he once met the Fonz on Happy Days.
Did he really?
No, that's who that character
I know.
was.
I'm just saying, the old Henry Winkler. But I never know with Colin Klein. You know what I mean?
You don't.
You never know.
You never know.
No,
you never
not
know.
at all. Hey, Steve wants to know, how is the Cabo trip funding going by the end of the season? Italy, Hawaii?
Better than I would like.
Yeah.
Better than I would like, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so the hope is that stays, kind of grounded.
Right.
And it went up way too high in 1 week, and so.
Before he got here, watched the Pulse, and you said something post-game. The 90% really, really liked, and it's the 10% that's the lesson. And you're learning the lesson, not the hard way of losing, but that 10% can decide games, can it not?
Yeah, always. And I've said this so many times, that the margins are so small, and nobody outside of the business and outside of the day-to-day of it really can see truly how small the margins are. And I think it's why coaches are so stressed all the time. I think it's why we coach the way we coach, and because you just know you're literally this close. And even I made the comment to the guys, we get up was it 21-3 or 28-3? It's 28-3, and then we relax for a little bit on defense, and 4 plays later they're in the end zone, right? And it's like literally that's how fast this thing happens. And so you're rolling along, you're playing really well, and for 1 second you think you're okay, and bam, it's over. And that's just football. It's football forever. And so the more we can educate on them on that, we certainly learned that lesson the hard way at times last year. And I think we're growing and maturing in the mindset that we need to be what we need to be.
The depth. It's one thing to have depth, but you got to have depth and talent. But Jordan Shaw plays. We talked about your running back room, and really we talk about the staples at each of these positions. Depth and talent is important, especially when you get into the October and November portion of the season.
And I think that's part of our roster acquisition philosophy. And as we kind of go through the process of putting the roster together, that's a big piece of it. It's not just can we go spend big on whatever one splash name can help us. You're looking at this from a much greater lens of we've got to make it through a 12-game season. We've got to make it through 8 this year, 9 next year, SEC football games. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be things that come up. We have to make sure that we have a roster that's going to allow us to do that. I said this in the press conference the other day. Our 2 players of the week in an SEC football game that we won weren't starters day one. And that's the depth you need. You don't need guys able to play or available to play. You need guys who can step in and play at the level, or in some cases even above the level, and that's really, really important for your team.
Shaw rips that ball out, then it gets into Dalton Brooks' hands, and I'm always excited because Dalton's such an athlete. I wanted to see what he was going to do with it.
He was. He did a good job turning the corner a little bit. Ball security could have got a little bit better. We addressed that on Monday. But, no, Dalton's a really talented player, and I think he continues to get better and better at safety. And I think each week he gets more and more comfortable with the position because, again, I think I said this too, like he had never played safety in his life until last year. And so last year was the first year he ever actually played safety. And so he went through last year and had his ups and downs with it. And certainly we have a ton of confidence in him. And then, he went through a little bit of an injury bug in fall camp. And so he was kind of working his way back in, didn't get to play the opener. And then, so he's been kind of a kid who I think has steadily grown and progressed as our defense has gotten better each week.
And I asked you about, does it help a Damian Sanford to play and practice alongside a Torian York now that Marcus Radcliffe, right? And you have a Bryce Anderson before he gets injured, that talent at safety. But Marcus is another one of those guys who he's learning with everyone else, new school, new system. Now in the second year, looks way more comfortable, and what an impact he's having back there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what you hope, right? That's the sign that you're doing things the right way, is when kids are able to develop and grow like that. And so, I think Marcus has really kind of come into his own as well. And it's great that we'll have Bryce back this week. Bryce is healthy and running around, and he looks good again. And, and so you've got pieces back there to utilize and give yourself the opportunity to be successful.
Is Scooby closer?
Scooby's closer, yeah. We should have Scooby this week, too. So, we're in a good spot.
That's nice. When we come back, it's The Bridge, and we're going to hear from one of the new distinguished alums, Gary Kubiak. That will be on The Bridge when we return.
Nice.
Yeah. And he speaks, if you're listening as you're going around meeting everybody, he says something that is what he says about this team and how they play and how hard they play and how much he loves that you have invited him, that he can come. I guess anytime.
He can come anytime he wants. I told him that. I said, listen, I'm not too proud to identify a really, really talented coach. And so, please, you're an ex-Aggie and you live close by. Come around, come watch, come help whenever you can. And so, he's come out to a few practices, and it's been great to see him.
Gary Kubiak, when we come back to the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The Aggie Football Hour and The Bridge, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together we're better. So this is the best thing that I heard. Saturday night, Aggie quarterback, Super Bowl champion, and now distinguished alum, Gary Kubiak, joined Will Johnson on the sidelines.
You know what? I'm just a big fan. I come watch him practice all the time. Coach lets me come watch. Obviously, I know Colin real good. He played for me for a year. But I'm just so impressed. They have 2 ingredients that are championship ingredients. They're very well coached, and they play hard as hell. That's what I'm so proud of them right now. So looking forward to a big year.
Well coached, play hard as hell. Don't think you can ask for anything more. More of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return to Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station, this is Aggie Football from Learfield. Howdy, Aggies. Score a taste touchdown at your next tailgate with Hellman's Real Mayonnaise, the official mayonnaise of Texas A&M Athletics. Do dip with Hellman's and do no wrong. Checking in from Belton and Harker Heights, Corinth, Round Rock, Hazlitt, Hallettsville, and Pittsburgh. That would be in Texas. We told you about Singapore and New South Wales, Byron, Illinois, Colorado Springs, Germantown, Tennessee, and there is an Aggie who is in Tampa who is proudly wearing the maroon. He's in the middle of Gator country, but proudly wearing his Aggie gear this week. Frank, thank you for doing that. Mason Sapp is the producer of the Aggie Football Hour, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Kevin Menchow is our engineer here at Rudy's, and Mike Elko still has a good first step.
That was a really good job by you of slowing down as you went through those to give me an extra amount of time to get back up here. So thank you for that.
I can always do another bridge. Mm-hmm. I can always do that. Hey, something else that I saw on the Pulse, if you would be kind enough. You were raving about Casey Concepcion, but you were talking about his route running. And you were saying that we don't always see as fans that some of his intermediate routes, but just how precise and there's always something that makes receivers on another level, right? Is route running one of those things that he does so well?
Yeah, for sure. And I've actually clipped a couple of these. I got a group chat with my two sons, and I've actually clipped a couple of these videos and sent them to him. There's probably been 3 or 4 times this year where the DB covering them has fallen down, trying to stay with them and covering them, and it just happened to be he was on the backside of a route, or he was working as the secondary option and the ball didn't go his way for whatever reason. But he has some routes on tape that are extremely impressive, beyond the ones where he's gotten really wide open and caught footballs too.
Because you never know where in that progression the quarterback's going to throw. I remember this play clear as day. Playing Texas State years ago, and it was Jamon Osborne, who I believe was the number 4 receiver on that play. But he ran that route. And if Kellen throws it to 1, 2, or 3,
nobody knows.
Ran the entire route,
yep.
right? And he was open, and that becomes a completion. If he quits and says, it's not coming to me, that ball's never complete. That's the, when I say professional, and I don't, but
yeah.
That's the type of, you need that for all your receivers, correct?
No, for sure. And the conversation that we have with them is they all have aspirations of going pro. And what we try to get them to understand is fans look at stats, message boards look at stats, PFF looks at stats, right? They have all of these make-believe like grading options out there that put out all of this information for you to read. But the people who make the decisions on how much money you get paid to play football for the rest of your life, they don't look at any of that. They don't pay attention to any of that. They watch film. That's what they watch. And so you can play a game and catch 2 passes and be graded out higher by an NFL organization than a kid who catches 11 passes, because they won't even know at the end of the game really how many catches you had. And that's what we're trying to get them to understand, like how you block, how you run down the field and block, that is all evaluated. How hard you play off the ball, that is all evaluated. The energy that you bring to the field, like that's what the NFL is looking for. And so, in this process of trying to develop a program that puts out more NFL talent year in and year out, I think that's all been part of the education.
A play that does not even show up in the stat sheet except for penalty under Mississippi State. We talk KC and we can talk Mario, but Ashton Bethel Roman going over the top causes an interference penalty, right?
Yeah.
But that's big for the success of Texas A&M's offense, is it not, that he's that threat out there?
There's no doubt, and we keep telling him, and just keep being patient, just keep doing what you're doing. He plays extremely hard. He runs really good routes. The ball will find you. And he's a young kid and he wants the ball like every skill kid. I said this the other day in a meeting. I said, listen, you guys don't have to remind me that if you're an offensive skill player, you want the ball. I'm pretty well versed in the fact that you didn't get the ball enough. Whoever you are, whoever I'm referencing, whatever name it is, if you play quarterback, wide receiver, running back, or tight end, I'm all set that you didn't get the ball enough Saturday. But just keep playing. Just keep doing it, and the ball will ultimately find you. And it's a long season, and things will happen. And it's a conversation we had with Ruben early on. I know you want more touches. I know you want the ball more. Just keep going. This is a game that it always works out. Just be ready when it's time for it to work out, and that's the challenge. And it's hard. It's hard for young people to understand that all the time. But I do think that by and large, they understand and they buy into that.
I know he didn't have a catch, but more and more we're seeing Mike O'Reilly. You're really able to go deep with your tight ends, aren't you?
Yeah, so he was another one. He was banged up a little bit in camp and wasn't always healthy and was recovering from an injury. And I think as he's gotten his full health back and kind of gotten up to game speed, and he didn't play a ton the last couple of years at Auburn. And so I think as he's getting more and more comfortable, you're starting to see what he's really capable of doing and really capable of being. And, now it feels like we've kind of got 4 tight ends in that room that we're able to utilize in different ways. And so that's been really good to see.
Almost a mirror of the running backs, right? They all bring something kind of unique, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge for Colin is to figure out how to utilize them the right way. I think we had 32 different personnel groups that we went into the game with last week, and that's not necessarily to the fans. It doesn't look that way, but to try to get different guys in the game, different guys, different opportunities to do the things that they do well. Excuse me.
Florida, that's the next challenge. We'll talk about that when we come back to the Aggie Football Hour. It's with Mike Elko, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return to Rudy's, this is Aggie Football from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. We continue with the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. The Aggies and the Florida Gators, 6 o'clock is the kick on Saturday, 5 o'clock with our Memorial Hermann pregame show. And the Aggies will be wearing uniforms that honor the 1975 Southwest Conference champions. That was a team under Emory Bellard that went 10-2. They had won 10 in a row, and 10 players were drafted, and that's still a record. And I understand it was 14 rounds. I get it. But if you cut it to 7 rounds, 6 Aggies were still drafted in that NFL draft. 50 years ago, you're talking about the same things, Coach. You want to have 10 Aggies drafted.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing that over the course of time, the teams that have the most NFL talent are the teams that find a way to win. It'd be interesting to see what their star rankings were when they went through recruiting.
Right. Hey, if it's Curtis Dickey, you know how fast he was, and then you had Big Woo.
Yeah.
And with that triple option that Coach Bellard had, I mean, just phenomenal. And he had stabilized Texas A&M at that time when he came there. And then just from there, just the great names. Do you?
I have respect for the 75 team. I've done some research and some homework on it, but just so we're on the same page, I was born in 77.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Totally understand. What I also found fascinating is I saw a link that in 77, that Sun Bowl was Texas A&M beat Florida in the Sun Bowl in El Paso.
How about that?
Wearing those same uniforms.
How about that?
Yeah,
There's got to be something to that.
Tony Franklin kicked one from 62.
Tony was out during fall camp this year.
Yeah.
That was great to see him, too. Obviously.
That was when they had the tees. You remember when they could kick off the tees?
Yeah, something tells me Tony would have been just fine in any era kick. I think he would have found I think he'd have found a way.
I agree with that. But that'll be fun. And, the end zones will have the 2 stripes that were on the top of those uniforms. And I like to see how this team gets so excited. We talked about the black uniforms before, but here's something in the nod. And I think anytime you can have an understanding of the history of who walked before you, and then hopefully in 50 years or 20 years, we look back at this team, right? But it gives a great connection, and I think a deeper connection to not just Texas A&M football, but Texas A&M University.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we've tried to work really hard at building to in the offseason and with some of the other people on our staff is reconnecting the Aggie football players. I think, we have such a strong former student connection. We have such a strong feeling for what it means to be an Aggie. I don't know that that's as solid amongst the former football players, and we've tried to really do a good job of bridging that gap, inviting guys back. We've been fortunate enough to have a lot of guys back from different eras. Certainly me being here and coaching some of them, it's been good to see some of those guys back. Otara Alaka showed up in the building last week. It was just really cool to see. I haven't seen him in a while, and so just the more and more guys that we can get around, the better it is. And I just think that's something we've tried to be really intentional and will continue to be very intentional about.
With that history, this never gets lost to you. The 5th largest crowd at Kyle Field. You're always quick to thank them because you know the 12th man knows they can make a difference in a game. I know it's hard for you in that moment. Do you take that time and say, wow, that was electric tonight, and that was so, like, you can't anticipate it. We talked a little bit, but do you get an opportunity to say, wow, that was a heck of a 60 minutes. What an atmosphere.
The best thing is when we pull away. So if we can actually pull away, that gives me a little bit of a minute. So you get towards the end of the game and you've got it pretty well in hand, and I think that gives you a little bit of a moment to kind of look around and feel it and soak in some things. It was very similar last year when we played Missouri at the end. You're just able to kind of look up and enjoy it. Like, I don't know that at Auburn I could even tell you anything about what was going on in the crowd or the stands at all. That's just kind of how it goes as a coach. But I say this a lot with our players, and I mean it, and I say it a lot with our fans, and I mean it. I try very hard to not take for granted really good things, right? We spend so much time sometimes focusing on what we need or what we don't have or what we have to get better or what we have to improve. It's never lost on me the support that we get from Aggies when we go into Kyle Field, ever. And I think it's not something that ever should be taken for granted by anybody. It's something that makes us unique. It's something that makes us special. We've talked about that a lot. We'll continue to talk about that a lot. They have an impact on everything. They have an impact on our team, how well we play. They have an impact on recruiting, a massive impact on recruiting. I can't tell you how many people come to our games and we hear, like, that's the best atmosphere I've ever been in. That's the best environment I've ever been in. Like, Coach, I wasn't really thinking about Texas A&M, but you guys are in my top 3 now, and that's what Kyle Field does. And so it's a huge piece of Texas A&M football, and I don't ever want the fans or anyone who comes to a game to not understand how much I realize and recognize that.
Final words of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return, it's Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. As we wrap up this edition, the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Aggies in Florida, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock with our Memorial Hermann pregame show. This is a lightning round, so this is your last thoughts before we go. We're running out of time.
My last thought about anything.
About absolutely. You can thank everyone. You can
all right,
tell us the keys.
Let's do this. Okay. Let's start with this, all right? As a reminder to all the Aggie fans who will be in Kyle Field Saturday night, obviously this is a huge game for us, a big opportunity, but it's the last time you get to cheer in Kyle Field for 4 weeks. And so if you just want to talk about absolutely exhausting yourself and leaving it all in the stands, like, this would be a week to absolutely bring it at a level like you never have. You've got 4 weeks to recover before the next chance you get to support your Aggies. And so we can go after it this week. How about that? That's a starting point.
Let's do it. Beat the hell out of Florida, Coach.
We will. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate everything you guys do. I know we're doing well because this radio show keeps filling up every week. And so we appreciate your support. Appreciate all you do. Thanks for everything. Giggle.
He is the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies and those 5th-ranked Aggies taking on the Florida Gators. 5 o'clock with our Memorial Hermann pregame show on Saturday. The kick will be just a little bit after 6. We thank you so much for joining us, whether here at Rudy's, all along the network. I'm Andrew Monaco. For head coach Mike Elko, for Kevin Mensch, our engineer, Mason Sapp, our producer, we thank you for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.
You've been listening to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Texas A&M Sports Network.